Today we're going to look at some simple things you can do for the soil in your garden to increase the nutrient density of the vegetables that you grow there. Hi, I'm Jeremy, and today we're continuing in our Gardening with Carl series as we join him out in his garden to see what simple steps and measures he takes to prepare the ground for the plants that he's soon to place there. He'll talk about things like what simple amendments to add and whether you should bother tilling the soil or not. So join me as we listen to Carl.
Well, I'm very happy this afternoon to welcome you to my garden. We're here at the time of year when I like to come out and get my garden ready for the growing season. And I'm so happy that you're with me today because I want to show you what I do to get this soil all primed to produce really nutritional food. Now, when I was a boy and I used to do gardens with my dad, I never dreamed that there was so much life beneath the soil. But it's amazing what is going on under our feet here. Because under this soil here, there's a whole universe of live things called microbes. And microbes happen to be God's way of making soil nutritious. And believe it or not, it's microbes that earthworms like to eat. They go through the soil and they will take the microbes and then they deposit their leavings and it just makes the soil richer and richer and richer. And in fact, you can find out how good your soil is by counting how many earthworms you have in a cubic foot. In fact, agronomists, those people who are such experts on soil, will tell you that that's one of the best ways to determine if you have good soil, is how many earthworms do you have? And you see, you'll have as many earthworms as you have microbes. And so you want lots of microbes in your soil. And microbes are living beings. They're living things. They're little live things that are actually microscopic, and with the microscope you can actually see them. So that people who are really scientific and have studied compost will take compost and put it under a microscope and they can see all kinds of these microbes. And they've been able to identify different kinds and give them names and so forth. Very exciting. So what I'm going to be doing in the next few days is I'm going to come out here and just clean this place up, and I'm going to be remineralizing my soil so that these microbes can have a good place to live. And they will supply my greens and my broccoli and my beets and carrots and everything with plenty of food so that I can have a lot of good food. So I want to show you what I'm going to use. I'm sure most of you have heard of azomite. Azomite has become kind of a famous addition or additive to soil because they have found that in azomite, which they actually dig from a dry lake bed in Nevada, I believe it is, they found that it is full of minerals and even other really, really good things for soil. And so I'm going to be adding some azomite. I do this every year. In fact, I not only add it to the soil in each grow bed, each grow box, but when I plant a tomato or a pepper plant, I always drop a little bit of azomite in the bottom of the hole. And I find that it makes a difference in my tomato plants. Not only does it make them healthy, but they claim that when you mineralize the soil, it adds to the taste of the food. In other words, the tomato begins to taste more like a tomato. And that's kind of rare nowadays, isn't it? So I want to show you what I do. I take and I just sprinkle this, and I do it rather generously. I try to do it like this, and I cover this whole bed with this, and I just want to show you how I do it, and that's what I do. And then I take, this is another nutritional substance that was taken actually out of the ocean, and they have granulated it and made it adaptable to the soil. And so I sprinkle some of this on there too, because it adds some other elements that feed these little microbes that I was telling you about. And then I take some rock powder, which has other benefits. And I sprinkle that on as well. And when I get through doing this, I normally will cover it with a light level of compost. Now, I haven't, since we just moved here recently, I haven't had the privilege of making a compost pile. But I normally have a compost pile going all the time, and that's a very good practice, because compost is the best thing you can do for your garden and your soil. And you need to add it constantly to things. You need to add it to everything you plant. You need to till it lightly into your soil. And I want to say something about tilling. There's a lot of controversy about tilling. There are those who are very adamantly opposed to tilling anything in the soil because they assume that it's going to destroy these microbes or the life that is down there. It slices and dices them, and they're concerned about that. But there are some very good studies that have been done that claim that yes, that's true to a certain extent, but it doesn't have a very lasting effect on the condition of your soil. And there's some very reputable agronomists who will tell you that you really need to do a certain amount of tilling, what they call light tilling. Light tilling would be if you took one of these small tillers and just tilled very lightly, maybe an inch deep, and get your things underneath the soil so that when it rains, it can take it down and it won't blow away with the wind or whatever. And so that makes sense to me, and I practice that type of thing. So what I'll do, once I get all of this on here, is I'll take my little tiller and I will lightly till it in, and all of this will look very neat. I'm going to be a little sad taking up this Swiss chard because we've been eating it all winter. And also the collards that we have, it's just amazing. You know, people say, well, it's going to freeze. Actually, I've been told, and I guess it is true, that this type of thing actually tastes better after a frost because it increases the sugar content of it. So what you see here is a spent garden that's about to be redressed. It's going to be fixed and going to be ready for me to bring out all of the beautiful plants that I am preparing for it, and the seed. I'll be seeding a lot of kale, I'll be seeding a lot of carrots and beets, and I'll be planting a lot of peppers and a lot of tomatoes and so many delectable things. And I just wanted to share with you how I'm planning to restore my garden and get it ready for the season. That's it.
So I hope you've been inspired today by these simple measures that you can take to revitalize your soil, and so that it can provide you with a nutrient-dense crop this summer. Now, if you've enjoyed today's presentation, please consider subscribing to this channel and remember to give us the thumbs up. Also, next week, Carl's going to share with us some of his preferred fertilizers for making sure that your garden vegetables produce well this summer. So please, join us next week as together we explore greener pastures.